Hey everybody, JP here, once again with my buddy Jew Majewski, bashing away on the drums. And this video, again, they're all a lot of fun to do. I feel like I say that for all of them. But this one in particular was cool because not only did I want to do the snare drum miking as detailed in the Metallica Load Studio notes, which is identical to the Black Album snare drum miking based on the visuals that we've seen from a year and a half in the life of Metallica. But I also wanted to see if we could nail some of the other aspects of the snare sounds because it's so singularly unique on the Black Album in terms of a couple very specific reverbs and, of course, the room. The one-on-one studio's room, a huge part of the sound. And I guess we should start by talking about the drum. They used a Tama bell brass snare drum. If you've ever heard a bell brass in person before, they are the loudest freaking snare drums ever. Charlie Benanti from Anthrax had one. He had actually just gotten one, I think, from Peisty Cymbals when I worked with him. And I mean, this thing sounded like a shotgun going off. So in a very lively room, like Bob and Randy preferred for their drum sounds from the loading bay up at Little Mountain for Dr. Feelgood, which I believe was also a bell brass snare. And then the Black Album at One-on-One Studios, I could see why they wanted a drum like that to really cut through and work with the room as best as possible there. Because a drum that wasn't as loud would probably get lost with all the other drums in a room like that. So I think this was the first time Lars ever used a bell brass, actually. And I think the idea came from Bob based on Dr. Feelgood. We used Drew's Ludwig Black Beauty snare. And that's actually the snare that Lars used on Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. He borrowed it from Rick Allen from Def Leppard, actually. And not positive what he used on Justice. I think it was a Tama. It might have been a wooden Tama snare or a chrome snare. But anyhow, bell brass snare in a big old room with a ton of room mics and some very specific reverbs. So to start off with the miking, we've got 57, good old 57. But that is probably the less significant of the two top mics. The other one is a Neumann KM86. KM86, pretty rare mic to see nowadays. But you'll see it on a lot of Bob Rock studio shots from, Motley Crue, Metallica, pretty much all the Metallica albums he did, including St. Anger, it's on there. And Lars actually still uses it on a snare in this picture, and I believe this is from the 72 Seasons tracking at the Metallica headquarters studio. So he obviously convinced Greg Fiddleman to go that route, and we may actually get into some of the miking from this in a future video, because there's some cool things going on there. It looks like 47 FETs inside the kick drums along with 421s. So that's something different to try, but that'll be for another day. Also, Bob Rock used the KM86 in his tune track library. In fact, just about all the snare pictures have one on there. So KM86, it's a side address condenser. Now, it's not uncommon to see a 57 and a small diaphragm condenser on a snare. Usually they're mounted together, taped together, maybe on a dual mic clip like this one here, and time aligned for phase purposes. However, since the KM86 is side address, it's actually positioned a little differently on the drum. It is facing directly down on the top of the drum, just inside of the rim. So if you were to take a common small diaphragm condenser, like a KM84 or 451 or something like that, and use that in lieu of it, you would have to position it almost 90 degrees perpendicular to the top of the drum, just to give you a little idea or visual of what that would look like. Yeah, this was a little tricky. I was trying to figure out which mic would be best for it, and really the best mic on the market to use in lieu of a KM86 would be the Josephson E22S. I don't have one of these. They're great mics. A lot of people use them interchangeably with the Neumanns. Ironically, up until a few years ago, you probably could have gotten an original KM86 for less money than the Josephson costs. But now the market's just insane for all that vintage stuff. So good luck trying to find that now. Looking at what I had, I thought I would give the Soyuz 1973 a shot because I know Drew has a very controlled hand on the snare. In fact, you can tell by the divot in the middle of the snare that he put there while we were doing this. And I knew it would be safe and it wouldn't get whacked too much. So I got that into place, and then I've got the 57 into place. These are following Randy Staub's miking. So, why don't we just go in and listen to those? Let me mute everything except the snare. Oh, and bear with me on the kick drum for this. I didn't have enough inputs in my limited place here to use more than one mic on the kick. So I'm just kind of using an RE20 and EQing it to pieces to make it fit in. So that is our snare, naked and alone. I'm also using the Soyuz 011 underneath it. On the Black Album, I believe they used an AKG 451. On Load, it's a 460. And very similar microphones. That's that by itself. Yeah, the 451 and 460, very similar. 451 is generally a little brighter. 460 is a little smoother and fuller. But without knowing what capsules they had on them, it's kind of tough to say for sure. But that's sort of the general vibe. So that is the 1973 right on the rim. So that's all your attack. That's your crack. And that's your 57. They work great together. In fact, let's just take a quick look at the phase there. Again, following Randy's meticulous notes, no phase adjustment necessary. I mean, of course we flipped the phase of the under mic when recording it. So this is what it looks like after the phase had been flipped. So they're all good together. And I'm running each one through a Neve. I did a little bit of EQ on the Neve just to bring out the top a little bit of both of them. Actually, all three. And all I'm doing with the SSLs are gating. That's without the gates. The only one, the 1973 had a bit more bleed, just being that it's a more sensitive microphone. So I've got these three going into a snare bus aux channel just for control, just for overall level control. And it was easier to send it to all the madness that we're sending it to, all from one fader rather than from all three. And just to check ourselves here, I want to compare our close mic snare with that from the Black Album drum library by Chocolate Audio that Mike Taki, the assistant engineer from the Black Album tracking sessions, he engineered this. And I got it about a year ago, and I got to say, it's really a fantastic learning tool and reference just to hear the close mics and how they all work together. I mean, they were in the same studio. They rented the same drum set from Drum Doctor, the Gretsch drum set with the Tama Bell Brass snare, and used probably a lot of the same microphones too, I would imagine. Let's give that a listen. So here's ours again. Just the close mics. And here's Black Album. So pretty close. That's the 1980 Bell Brass 14 by 6.5 inch snare. And got it soloed up here. You can see we've got a blend of bottom, top 57, top 86, and the KM86 is favorite on that top blend. So I've got basically the same mix going on my faders here. And I've just got that channel going out one pair. I have it mapped so that I could multi-track these if needed. But that's all we're hearing right now. Yep. I'm quite happy with that comparison. Very cool. And just for fun, they also have a Ludwig snare option in here besides the Bell Brass. It's a maple snare, but let's got a little St. Anger going on there. So yeah, we're much closer to the bell brass. I'm very happy about. And let's listen to our other mics. That's our RE20 on the kick. Again, not the best kick sound, more of the Justice kick than the Black Album kick, but we had to fake it, right? So then I used a single overhead. This is just an MXL microphone that Drew had, a large diaphragm mic. We put it directly above the snare, pointing down, as high up as I could get it down here. So about 7 feet high, maybe. And I'm compressing it a little bit. I'm actually demoing this really cool Bobcat's K stereo, just to give it a little whiff. See? Just give it a little movement to the left and right, and that kind of clears out the middle for some of the other stuff we're doing. Then I've got the kick room mic. I use the Sound Deluxe U195 for that, for this session. On the last one, we used the Soyuz for that, the 1973. EQing a bit and compressing a bit. And then this was a really fun one. This is an EV635A microphone that one of my loyal subscribers sent me to check out, actually. Thanks again, John. I owe you one, and I really appreciate that. Now, little story behind this. In the load notes, there is mention of a 57. Actually, it's a Shure 546, which was the predecessor to the 57. Right in the center of the room, it's called the Listen mic, and it's patched into the SSL talkback microphone. And now, if any of you know your history, you know that the sound of a microphone patched into the SSL talkback compressor is the sound of the drums on In the Air Tonight from Phil Collins. And it was also, I believe it actually started with Hugh Padgham on a Peter Gabriel session. But I think the drum solo in the Air Tonight is kind of the most well-known use of it. But anyway, I thought it was really cool to see that Bob did this on his sessions, on the load sessions. I don't know that he did it on the Black Album session, but when you hear it mixed in with the kit, it makes sense. It adds a lot to the snare and the kick for that matter. So I'm using, he used the 546. I'm using the EV635A, which is an Omni, and I found the liveliest spot in my basement for it, which was all the way over by the stairs where the ceiling shoots up, probably, another 10 feet high right in that little corner. So I got the liveliest sound I could, and I figured an Omni might be a little better. And ironically, when I worked at Bear Tracks, we used to use the EV635s as talkback mics in the room for this purpose. We would put it in the middle of the room, and we didn't have an SSL, but we would put it through some kind of compressor so that in between takes, if the band needed to talk to us, we could hear them all through that one single microphone. So I'm routing it through the Cornef SSL talkback compressor, of course, right? That's without it. So that's giving it some life. And then I had to EQ it a bit. That's without the EQ. I just had to get some of the rattiness from the hi-hat. So it blended with the kit a lot better with a little bit of EQ, that's all. And then I did another fun microphone, actually my first time trying this. I'm calling this Dyna Elvis. This is my little Elvis mic. This is a Shure 55 that, this was my father's microphone when he was a kid. He used to pretend to be a radio broadcaster with this, when he was, a little kid in the 50s. So this mic's probably from the 40s, and the output was so low, I thought it was broken for the longest time. And it's got a 1/4-inch cable attached to it. So I ran it through a little Whirlwind Redbox compressor, which is kind of a fancier Dynacomp. It's the guy who started Whirlwind was one of the original MXR guys. So he did the whole line of the original 3 MXR pedals. And I have this one in the Phase 90, and they're fantastic. So I'm actually only sending this to the parallel drum bus, which we'll get into in a minute. So all these tracks, shouldn't say all of them actually, the kick, the snare bus, and our room mics, not our overhead, but our other room mics, are all going to this parallel bus. And I have their own little pre-fade mix being built here. And I'm compressing it through an SSL style compressor. I'm EQing it along the lines of, this is what Randy Staub did on the Evanescence mix, where he just cranked the top and bottom after the compression on his parallel drum sub. And he mentioned in that little Sound on Sound interview that this was something he and Bob started doing back around this time, Dr. Feelgood and Metallica. And then I'm just putting it through an SSL just for the sound of occasionally hitting that red like it does. So that's our drums without any reverb. Let's try adding Sound City first. So that's a big difference right away. And I am using that I'm using that metric halo thump to give some extra bottom to the kick drum. And since this song is in the key of D, I actually have it tuned to D frequencies. D's frequencies, sorry. Just letting a little bit of that through, just like in the Enter Sandman kick from our kick drum video. And that's, again, the kick is going into thump, and thump is going directly to Sound City. But for now, I want to isolate the snare, since that's what we're here to talk about. And I really just want to focus on what we're doing in the snare. Reverb-wise, the most important one is the EMT 250. This is one of Bob Rock's favorites. He talks about the next 3 units we're going to discuss are 3 of his favorite units. And I know he uses the UAD plugin versions of them because he mentioned it. I think it was the Andrew Sheps interview that he did recently. So the EMT, it does one thing and it does it really, really well. And I wanted to present you guys with an alternative to that. We're going to compare it to the EMT Big Snare with similar parameters on Valhalla Vintage Verb. So move these so you can see which one I'm on. That's Valhalla. Back to AMS. I'm sorry, EMT. So doing this makes me feel like an idiot for buying a UAD satellite. I'll just be honest with you. Because I think Valhalla Vintage Verb absolutely knocked this out of the park. I mean, there's other things I use on the UAD that I need it for, but this is fantastic. So, kudos. Now, the next thing we have to look at is the RMX. Another Bob Rock stalwart. You can hear this very similar reverb in the Black Album drum library that Mike Taki did, and also the Bob's Tune Track Rock Foundry. This is This is the kind of reverb he has on that. And it just thickens up the snare so well. It sounds kind of weird by itself, but when you blend it in with, you know, a good room sound and a longer reverb like the EMT, it fits really nicely. And then, again, I want to compare this with Valhalla's version of it. Valhalla's non-lin reverb. I'm just putting it like this for this comparison. Okay, so that's the AMS, and that's Valhalla. Valhalla has a slightly different decay to it, which I actually find almost a little more pleasing. The RMX cuts off pretty quickly, which is how the original is as well. Now, I think Valhalla actually said they did not model it directly after an RMX. They used a non-lin patch from a Lexicon unit, but so anyway, another kudos to Valhalla moment, because I would consider these pretty interchangeable. Although maybe more of a difference than between the EMT and the Valhalla, just in that decay. But overall, I don't think you could go wrong with either one in a mix. So. And then we're doing one other thing. We're running the snare into a DMX delay, but all we're doing with it is pitching it down slightly. And the DMX delay is actually going directly into the EMT. So we're sending a deeper snare if I turn it up, you can hear it more. It just gives a little more body to the reverb. And this is really similar to, I've done this on toms in other videos. I can't remember if I ever did it with snare or not, but this was, you know, detuning the toms and sending them directly into a reverb was a big Jason Crisaro thing. I think we did that on the Soundgarden drum videos. And I always thought it was done to the snare and maybe the toms on the Black Album as well. So to hear that all together, that is everything on the snare. And how does it compare? I'd say we came pretty close for the fact that we're in a basement with a different drum and we're using all plugins for this. And I'm quite happy with how it came out. Trying to think if there's anything we didn't mention. Oh, the overall bus. I'm calling it the mix bus here, but it's really like the drum bus. I've got Studer 800. That's giving its enhancement, as I've used on other videos. I'm doing more of a bus-type compression with the Kive X-Bus SSL style compressor. Not as extreme as on the drum parallel submix. And then, again, I'm using this great mastering EQ. from Kive, the M5133. Just a little top, which is about 3.5K. It really helps it cut. Oh, and I don't think we actually looked at, but I've basically got the live drum setting with everything cranked. A little bit of compression. It looks like a lot, but I'm only sitting on it at about 50%. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this came out, and for the snare miking, again, that Soyuz 1973 really kind of won the day on snare for that, and hearing how much crack that was responsible for, I just thought that was really remarkable. So. So much of the tone comes from that. I mean, it's a combination because it's too thin without the 57. But the 57 gives you that body. But the crack from that 73. And this talkback limiter EV microphone, see, the mix gets quite empty without it. It really fills out the mid-range. It fills out the mid-range in a way that matches the album a bit better, I think. So, yeah, really happy with how this came out. So, yeah, again, kudos to Valhalla for those reverbs. It's funny that I used to use those reverb settings all the time, and then I went to the UAD satellite and, yeah, kind of forgot how great they were. And Valhalla, man, they killed it. They absolutely killed it on those reverbs. Really great stuff. Like I said, in a way, I kind of feel dumb for going with the UAD, but there is other stuff I use it for that I can't get anywhere else. So, and of course, the processing power is always nice to have too. All right, so yeah, I guess that's about it for now. I'll be back. Drew and I did another video right away after this. We did end up getting a 26-inch kick drum. He actually bought a kit with a 26 kick for a little like stoner rock thing that we're going to be doing together soon. So. We ended up doing the Rockhead video, and also for that one, we used the same snare and the same snare miking, but in a very different mix application. So I think it's going to be really interesting to hear how, you know, literally same drum, same mics, didn't touch anything, except they're being played different in a different overall mix. And it's really cool to hear how that translates. All right. So until then, please like, comment, subscribe. You know, I love hearing from you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this. All right. Let me know. Take care.